Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Village Guy. Of course, if you're joining for the first time, this is just a platform to showcase a bit of Paul excellence, Wellington excellence in and the surrounds. And of course, today I've got someone that doesn't really need a introduction in the Paul community. He's has a very positive influence on a lot of kids or youth on the Paul community. And I managed to get hold of Dr. Hamilton Pharaoh. I've been planning to speak to him for a very, very long time, but our times just never worked out. So just by way of introduction, Dr. Pharaoh has got his PhD in physiotherapy, and then he's got an exciting NGO happening or running. It's called the Foundation for Communities of Excellence, TIFCO, for those that probably know it for the abbreviation. And I attended, I think it was last year or this year, they had a small ceremony on the water. Was it this year or last year?
The 8th of December.
8th of December last year, and it was actually quite amazing to see the impact Dr. Farrow has on the kids. But he's going to tell us a bit more about about his foundation and a bit about his life, born and bred in Paul. So, Dr. Farrow, what am I calling you, Doctor?
My name is Hamilton.
Okay, do I call you Hamilton?
You call me Hamilton.
Thanks so much for your time.
It's a pleasure. I think I've been following the Village Guy for quite a while, so it's different sitting here and not watching the video.
Yeah, no, I've been planning. You've been on my list for quite some time, but of course our times don't work out. So what's keeping you busy?
Well, I work for the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and I think I need to start there because in 2017 they recruited me to come and work at their physiotherapy department and to lecture there. And I think it's great to work for an institution that's allowed me to grow and that's passionate about community engagement. So I've been able to take the work that I do and make it part of my actual job. And I think for the past 3 years I've been able to expand community engagement and how we influence the lives of young people and their families. We could build bigger projects and actually drive bigger forces to try and change that.
Okay. So how does it work? You work in Durban, you fly every day?
Yes,
how does it work?
I think when I started in 2017, I flew to Durban on a Monday, and I flew back to Cape Town on a Thursday. But obviously 2017 was a difficult year for me and my family because my grandson got injured a week after I started in Durban and passed away 2 days later. And so our lives changed. And because of that, I had to be more at home. But because of my research work, I could navigate working and also being here for my family. So at the moment, I have students that I supervise, masters and PhD students that do research in health risk behavior and in community engagement. And they're all registered with the University of KwaZulu-Natal. But I work with a lot of them in the Western Cape because a lot of the research projects are actually here. So we're trying to create a database around youth and their health risk engagement. And also how do we engage with the community in various communities. So we have master students looking at health risk behavior engagement in Wellington, that's the future, in Worcester. I've done with my PhD, I've done data around the youth of Paul. So we had more than 1,000 learners that was part of my research project.
Wow.
So we have data that one can look at and say, but what's the profile of young people in the Drakenstein area? And how do we now engage with them? Because one of the challenges with many programs is the fact that it's a generic program. My research, and I'm very proud of the work that I've done, simply because we are able to work with a specific group of youth, and I can tell you for that specific group what is their current needs. So it's not a generic program. We don't go and do something and hope. We know exactly these are the needs, and we can actually impact them.
Wow, so it's tailor-made for a specific kid. That's
so
amazing.
I always make the analogy around billions of rands being spent on condoms.
Yeah.
But yet we have a teenage pregnancy problem, we have an HIV problem, we have an STD problem. So why is it not working?
Because for me, it's always like, because I drive through Lantana often, and I always like, for me, it's like it's like you take a Google Maps and you take Lantana and you draw the border around Lantana and you see what is the need for the youth in Lantana. And how can you change? Because whenever I drive in the morning, I always wonder, like, you have one kid standing on the corner and the other kid in his school clothes standing on the corner, and I always wonder what's going through his head. It's like, why is my friend going to school and why am I not going to school?
And that's a big challenge for us. So firstly, when me and you, when we drive, within ourselves, we have some hope.
Yeah.
We have some hope that something better will happen.
Correct.
We have a dream, right? So I've dreamed of getting a PhD. I'm almost 48 years old. I've not stopped dreaming. I'm now dreaming to become the first person in my family to be a professor.
Wow. Nice.
So we are still continuing with that. But in some areas, for some kids, I see that person going to school as stupid because you're not going to get anywhere. Everyone around me, we're not getting anywhere. So why are you going? So if we don't have that hope, right? If we don't have that dream, if we don't have someone that constantly says that you are worth something, you cannot move forward. We are sitting with a society where most kids are being told you will amount to nothing because your father has amounted to nothing.
Correct.
In fact, you don't even have a father.
Yeah, correct.
So I think some of the work that I'm doing, when I was busy finishing my PhD in 2014, I said to myself, I don't want a book with my name on. I want something tangible. I want to know that my PhD is really meaning something. So I started with thinking about the foundation and saying, but can I start something? So I wrote the foundation, the vision and the mission, and I wrote what I wanted. So I then built the foundation on 5 pillars. And I said, okay, firstly, in our communities, we need to create families of hope. Then secondly, if we have families of hope, we can get children that have dreams.
Yeah, great.
And then the third pillar is we need to have women of the future. Because young girls, their future is 14 pregnant. So we need to change that.
Correct.
So we need women of the future where they come and say, but I actually want a career. I want to be someone. And then we need men of courage. Because we need men to stand up and say, yes, I'll be a father, but I'll be a father when I can look after my family. I'll have a career. I'm not someone that will make babies and vanish.
Great.
And then the 5th pillar was we need to foster with love. We grew up where we knew that die auntie op die hoek gaan vir jou pak gee as jy iets verkeerd doen.
Correct.
If you go and tell your mom, die auntie het jou pak gegee, jou ma jou weer pak. Want jou ma gaan sê die auntie gaan jou nie verniet pak gee nie. So we need to get back to that. And with driving through Lantana, I'm sure you see 3-year-olds walking alone. How did we become a society where that's okay?
Correct.
So we need to get back to that. So our foundation is built on those 5 pillars. And then in 2016, me and my daughter was in matric that year. We had a discussion about the support she has. And she said, Dad, can you develop something that matriculants have the same support I have?
Wow.
So then I wrote the matric program.
Wow.
So in 2016, we started the matric program where matriculants in Paarl from the 5 schools that we piloted, New Orleans, Glen-Edderburg, Farrow, Charleston Hill, and Paulus-Hubert.
Okay.
And I said, okay, so they apply, they write an essay, and they tell us what they dream of, what kind of support they have, and what would they like to become. We then took in, the first year, we took in 64 learners.
So how many? So you told all the kids, all the matriculants, you all write?
We said to
the schools,
here's the application form. So whoever applies.
Okay.
So the 64 that applied, we took in all 64 because we couldn't get the emotional part out of it. It almost killed us because it was too much. But we took in 64, and in that year it taught us a lot about what we want to do going forward. And then we had a tutoring part of it. So it was a tutoring, career guidance, and life skills program. Okay. Tutoring because we understood that kids were struggling with their marks. Career guidance. A lot of kids come to matric and say, I want to become a doctor, but they've never had any 7 in any of the marks. So how do you compete to become a doctor? So we need to look at that. And then life skills, with lecturing at university for almost like 20 years of my life, I know that our kids don't fail because they're not intelligent enough. They fail because they don't have the skills to navigate post-matric. Sometimes a child fails because they're not assertive enough to say, I'm struggling with something. So you wait for the whole year, fail the subject. Instead, there could have been programs that could have assisted.
Or they're shy also.
It's all of those things.
Wow.
So then we did that for the year, and we realized when we went to 2017 that one, we don't want to do tutoring because that's not our work.
Yeah.
Our work is not tutoring. Our work is career guidance and life skills. So I could take the work from my PhD and say, okay, let's look at the life skills that we need to give young people.
Yeah.
And a simple thing, time management. It's a simple thing. By teaching them time management, that improved them. Just one thing. So there were 8 domains that I look at, and that I say, okay, if we understand that, then I know where some of the gaps are. It's our 5th year anniversary this year.
Amazing.
We're going to have our first graduates. One of our kids, she's graduating in April, March with a degree in medical bioscience at UWC.
No way.
Yes,
That's amazing.
We have a student from Charleston Hill Secondary School that will graduate in July with a degree from CPUT in horticulture.
Unreal.
So when I look at these kids, I cry because
Of course.
Because for me, this is what I thought I wanted to do. I never thought this would happen so fast. Because these kids, no one is giving them a chance.
Totally.
Charleston Hill, as an example, is a school where people say any kid that don't get in anywhere, they go there. They've just, in the matric results, I think they were second.
Wow.
They went from being last to second. They went from, I think, 64% pass rate in 2018 to a 76% pass rate in 2019.
Wow.
And some of the work I was able to do there, so my academic program I did with some of the grade 8 learners there, and then the matriculants. I mean, we have the past 2 years, 2018 and 2019, they had an A student in matric, right? Both of them were in our foundation. And so what I'm seeing is that children are saying, someone believe in me. Someone make me belong to something that make me feel that I'm worth something.
Amazing.
So that's what I think we try and do. And for me, I'm just a lightie van die Parel. I toured with the 7 Springboks, and we went to China, and I stood on the Great Wall of China in 2001. And the one thing I realized was that I was alone. I couldn't share it with anyone. And I thought, if ever I get a chance to give the blessing back, I want to see others standing next to me on the Great Wall of China.
Wow.
So imagine you can have a child that comes through the foundation phoning you from Paris, from the Eiffel Tower, saying, I'm actually at the Eiffel Tower. It means that we've done something.
No,
that we've
totally.
taken the blessings that we've received. And me and you, no matter how we look at things, we are still privileged. My daughter goes to UCT, she's 4th year opera, she's an inspiration. But she never worries about getting anywhere because she can call an Uber, her father pays for it, she can go to class without any worry. There are kids here that don't even know if they have something to eat. So how can it be equal?
No, I totally agree with you.
So how do we fight that? And I think that's what the foundation stands for. And when Josh died in 2017, I think it just enhanced what we do.
Your drive,
Our drive. We said, okay, there are 2 things. Lauren, we adopted when she was a month old. She is an amazing talent. That's why you came to the Adopt a Star show. So Lauren uses her talent to build the foundation so that we can have some funds to help other kids.
It's amazing.
And then through Josh, we are saying he's taught us to live in hope and faith and love. So in the foundation, we live out his legacy by doing that, by teaching young people about hope, about faith, about love. And I always joke with him. I say, the reason why I follow you until you get your degree and you get a job is because each one of you owe me 100 Rand a month when you start working for the rest of your life. And I say, do you know why? I say, because your 100 Rand will help someone else.
Totally.
So that's the idea, that's the dream.
So if I had to ask you, Hamilton, if there's one, if just because we're on this topic, if you had all the, say you were mayor of Paarl for one day and you had no limits, what was the first thing you'd change?
I would change the support to schools.
Okay.
That's the
so
first
it's the
thing.
education system.
Yes, absolutely. I think we are asking kids at schools that have so little facilities to compete with other kids, and then we downgrade them because they can't. So I always upset people by saying the following. I will take a child that gets a 60% at one of our schools that have nothing above a child that gets a 60% at a Model C school.
Correct.
Because that 60%, I know what goes into that. It goes into the work, the fact that child maybe haven't eaten. We have now taken in our foundation a child for this year who says to me, I study with candlelight because we have no electricity on our farm. I still get 4s and 5s. So, and Lauren will tell you, we've always said to her, me and Heidi, my wife, you have no choice but to do well.
Correct.
Because you have no other challenges.
No excuse. Yeah,
You've got no excuse.
Yeah.
And when I look back at my life, I'm now looking back and saying, sure, I should have done a lot better. Because if I compare what I had, and I think one of the biggest lessons for me was that I've always done well at school, done well at university, and I thought, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how difficult is that?
Yeah.
Then I realized that the child sitting next to me who was struggling, did not have a father, did not have something to eat. Maybe he was smacked around, he was worried about going home in the evening. So I wasn't that great. I just had better opportunities and I had more support. So I cannot brag about what I've achieved if I don't understand that others could have achieved the same things given the same opportunities.
Totally.
So I think that's the challenge for us. So I would want this municipality, if I'm there for the day, to say that they won't rest until all the schools in this municipality have the same facilities, have the same teachers that can drive education in the way that it should be driven. And I think we can do it. I don't think it's something that's difficult, but it's almost like you need an attitude for that. And what I find is that people don't want to work hard to achieve that. So I'm not going to even try that. Because it's too
much hard work.
So I think where we are in the foundation, I've got 14 volunteers that somehow I tell them when we meet, you guys are mad in believing all the things that I want us to drive. But it's incredible because they've taken this and I've said to them, whatever you come and do here, find your passion because then you'll stay. So they found their passion. They also, so where I started doing all the modules and the teaching, people have now taken over and taken their passion and they are presenting.
Amazing.
So we work from Charleston Hill Secondary School now. They've given us a classroom that we're slowly starting to revamp. And we are building processes. We've gone so far as to pilot what we call a Cubs program. So we have the matriculants. But I've got this thing where I'm saying we don't know the gaps from grade 6 to grade 10. So I know the grade 12 that we're seeing.
Correct.
So what are the gaps here that it's not getting there? So we've piloted one last year.
Oh, nice.
Where we had about 14 kids that we could understand that. And now, this year, we've interviewed them and said, right, let's see if we want you back. So we're going to probably have about 16 of them that we are going to
Yeah.
put into a full-fledged cub program.
Yeah.
The future is the following, that in a year's time, we only want to take in grade 9s
Yeah.
and work with them from grade 9 to 10.
Okay.
In grade 11, they become mentors for the 9 and 10 that's going to come
Nice.
through.
Nice.
And in 4 years' time, all the matriculants in our program will come from the grade 9s that
Yeah.
applied.
You were talking about that grade 6 to grade 9. One of the teachers, I spoke to one of the teachers here at the high school, and she said that at her school, the standard 6s, let's call it grade 8s, that started, and the amount of those grade 8s that finished the matric was less than 50% of those kids.
No,
so
you'll cry.
what happens? Where do those kids go?
There were 39,000 dropouts in our education system last year. 39,000.
I mean, where do they go?
Yeah.
What happens? Where do they
So,
go?
and this is the difficulty that people struggle with. Because I think there are two things that we need to look at. One, when the government says they had an 80% pass rate in matric,
Yeah.
they are talking about the people that wrote matric in
Yes.
that year.
Correct. Yeah.
Now, we need to understand
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
the first thing.
Yeah.
The second thing is, if we look at dropout, then we can look at, so what happens there?
Yeah.
So, number one, yes, the government is failing in certain things, right?
Correct.
But that's not the only factor. So there are so many factors. One factor, as an example, is if you grow up in a home where it's okay to leave school in grade 6 because that's the history of
Yeah.
your family,
Yeah.
then it's easy to drop out. Then there's a lot of other things, isn't it? Your parents died, you now need to look after your siblings, so you go and work. So there's so many things.
Yeah.
So it's not one thing that will change it. It is a lot of things that we need to look at.
Yeah.
What we focus on is to say, okay, we cannot change everything, right? So let's start with one child at a time,
Totally.
and we look at numbers. So if we look at numbers now, we look at the fact that we've got about 60 students studying at university.
That's amazing.
UWC are we're making sure of the numbers now. At the moment, we have 17
That's amazing.
that's studying at UWC, of which 10 are first years. We have more than 12 studying at CPUT. We have students at Free State University, Poch, UJ,
Oh, that's
Wits.
amazing.
So I get goosebumps when I think about this, because I can give you their names, not just their students
Yeah.
studying. I can tell you about their history. I can tell you about the fact that the girl that's going to graduate in horticulture, right, comes from a single parent. Those kind
Yeah,
of things.
yeah.
And what we've taught them is, one, where you come from is not something that you should be ashamed of. In the foundation, we say you own your
Yeah.
space,
Of course.
you stand your ground. And what I've been able to also tell them is to say, I'm also angry sometimes because I lost my grandson. Son, I'm also sad. But what I've decided to do is to say, how do I take my anger and my sadness, and how do I create something beautiful from it? So if I can do that, I'm telling you, all of you can take all of that and make something
Yeah, it's
beautiful from
amazing.
it. So that's what we try and do.
But I see you're reaping the fruits now,
yeah.
because of course they finishing matric, they're going to study.
No, it's
amazing. Yeah.
And to see their faces. Right,
I
to
could
see-
understand. Yeah.
So at the beginning of matric, we say, right, if you work hard, if you put things in place, we can apply, we
Yeah.
can do this.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden, you get a message from the university saying you've been accepted for social work.
Oh, that's amazing.
We have 3 first-year students at UWC studying social work. Because of Josh and the fact that he got injured in Oudtshoorn, in 2019 we also ran a matric program in Oudtshoorn.
Wow.
So there are kids from Oudtshoorn studying at universities because of this.
So where do you get all the time to manage this?
My wife will tell you I'm mad, but I think it's a passion.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, my whole family is involved.
Yeah.
So this is my wife's passion as well.
Yeah.
So our family time is about
Yeah.
how do we make the foundation better? How do we live out Josh?
Yeah.
So that's what we do.
And how to make a change
Yeah,
in your
we've
community.
created, we started creating educational tools as part of Josh's legacy.
Yeah.
So we have designed a the teachers say a balance scale.
Yeah.
So we've given Newtown Primary, they receive 3 of those, and then we've given some people in Oudtshoorn, and we're testing it. So we're hoping that we will develop more of this. And the beauty of this is that a third year teacher, education student from Paul, Megan Green, I spoke to her and she designed this. So I'm hoping that we can get the whole community to understand this and to buy into this. Our Dr. Star show has taken 5 years to the point where you saw it.
Yeah, amazing. Talent.
Yeah.
Fun. That's like unreal.
So we're building slowly. I'm hoping that I said to my parents when they were at the awards evening of the foundation and the induction, I said to my parents, I hope they're proud of what I'm doing, but I'm doing this because they allowed me opportunities that other kids didn't have. And if I don't do better than them, then everything that they've sacrificed is not worthwhile.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate that I have a wife that supports what I do, and that love what I do. And together we are building this as something special that we will grow old with.
Of course. It's a legacy you're creating.
Yeah, and then I think my children, because of how they've bought into this, I think for Nicole, Josh's mum, this has become something special. And I think the most difficult thing for me as a father is that there's nothing I can do to help her with the pain. And it breaks you as a parent.
Of course.
So it's so nice seeing how she's taken this. We also have the Josh James Farrow Golf Day. That's part of what we do. So even the Golf Day helps with getting funds for the programs. So for me, and I mean, I grew up in front of your father, and they taught me so many things. And we don't have that now. We don't have older guys doing this. I'm a product also of Paul Cricket Club, and what I've been taught by various people. So how do we start that and build that? And I'm hoping that the foundation is doing that. We are exposing matriculants to PhD holders. So for instance, I had a young man from Dobsonville, Soweto, studied at UCT. He's got a PhD in astronomy. So his mother, they didn't have anything. He said, I also had to go and get food from the church. He's got a PhD in astronomy, right? And he came to speak to them. I had another colleague of mine, a friend of mine, Tuli. When he came to UWC, he had R1.50 in his pocket, and he had this dream of studying occupational therapy. He is now a PhD in occupational therapy. And he came to speak to them, so they can see this is possible, and how you can go through that and keep on believing. And I think we had an interview on Radio Casey a while back, and two of the TEFCO kids sent in voice notes. And the one thing that amazed me was that Dwayne Duplessis is now a second year student at UWC BCom. He said that TEFCO to him means hope. That's what we wanted.
Totally.
And it's actually happening. So I think we are humbled, and I think that's the most important thing. We are humbled by all of it.
And I think our youth, they just needed help. I mean, if I think of it as that, they just need that.
Someone needs to tell you it's possible. And what do kids hear all the time? They hear that they're rude, they hear that they're not going to amount to anything. But we need to change the narrative. So part of the work that we do is that when you're in the program, parents also understand that they will also come to family workshops. So we don't just work with the kid. So we work with the kid, and then we say, okay, now we're ready for a family workshop. Let's go and discuss what we've done with you, why the conversation in the house is changing, right? You won't think of it this way, but we even start with discussions about, let's create a safe place in the home. Where do we talk about difficult things? What is your safe place? how do you protect your safe place? And how do we understand how we will communicate with each other? So all of those things we work on, and we can see the changes. So the students that I supervise, they are now all doing research work within the community work that we're doing. Because for me, I just don't want to talk about this is what we do. We want to say, here's the data. This is how it's been changed. This is the structure of a community engagement program that others can follow. I'm hoping that somewhere the 26th of March, and I'm working on that now, is that I can get NGOs that's involved in youth in our community to come to a day seminar and to present what they do. And that we can have the conversation about, okay, let's not all do the same thing. Let's see how we can work together.
That's such a good idea.
But then the final thing is to say, let me, through research, help you build your data. Because we don't have enough data.
Quickly, your childhood, give me primary school, high school. Did you get them one day and say, Mama, I want to be a physiotherapist?
Sure. Let me tell you, this is the one thing that I brag about. Ek kom van 'n plaasskool af.
Okay, cool.
So I, those days, sub 8 to standard 1, I was at Emmanuel Primary School, which was in Main Road. You know where Dani Malan se winkel is? So opposite that.
Okay, wow.
I don't know how it happened, but there was a church building and a school there, and I don't know how they got it right to do a development, because I thought it's an historical building. Anyway, so that's where I went to school. In standard 2, toe sou hulle middagskof het. So sê my pa, nee, jy gaan nie middagskof maak nie. So then I went to New Orleans Primary School. And then from New Orleans Primary School, I went to Gleneagles. I've always been involved in sport. So I was, in essence, physio became something that I wanted to do because of sport. So I had this thing in mind of sports physiotherapy and all of that. So I was fortunate that when I finished matric, and I always tell the story to the matric learners, because I feel it's important that they understand what marks mean. So I got an E for physics, right? Final result matric. And I said to my father, we need to remark, because I don't know how I got the E. I just passed. But my bio and maths was good. So I got entry into UWC for physio. So I said to my father, no, let's not remark. I might get an F. And then I got into UWC, and then the first year we did physics, and I passed physics with an A. Because I was so scared that E was there. But I say to them, if I decided that the E is who I am, I would not have a PhD. And I think it's important. And also, I was lucky that I found my passion, and that's why I did well. So that's two things.
Big difference.
So I think I also had a cousin, Heinrich Kruger, who was a physiotherapist here. So I was also fortunate that I could speak to him beforehand. So that helped in the decision making about physiotherapy. So I obviously, as a student, dreamt about sports teams. And then when I started working, and I'm old now because that's 1995, I worked at Paarl Hospital and TC Newman Hospital. And in that 2.5 years when I worked there, I never thought about sports physio. I loved rehab. I loved working with patients that lost a limb, and we got them a prosthesis and got them walking with stroke patients. I loved that. And by chance, a doctor that I worked with a Boland cricket team. And he said, look, you played provincial cricket, you have all of those knowledge, and you're a physio. Are you not interested maybe in getting involved? So that's how I went back into the sports game. So I worked for Boland Cricket for 4 years. I was actually the physiotherapist with them when they won their only national championship. So I'm very proud of that. And then from there, I started working in rugby. So I worked for Nike when SA Rugby had all the best under 12 and under 15 guys together. That's where I met up with people like Paul Delport, Luke Watson. So I was actually the physio for the school's SA team. And then from there I went to the Sevens with Chester as the coach. And I was part of the team that won the first ever international tournament in the history of South Africa. So for me, I did my things in physio. I was with Peter de Villiers when we won the world championship. So I've worn the T-shirt. I've done all of that. But you know, I think I've always fought with God in understanding what He wanted from me. And I always knew this is not me. There's more that I need to do. And when Josh died, the one thing that I realized is that I am still here on earth. So God has something that I need to do. If Josh, in 9 years, could get people to react in the way that they did when he got injured and died, and he influenced them without saying a word by just living his life, my question to me was, are you going to stop talking now?
As a last question, so what's the big dream? What's Dr. Hamilton Pharaoh's big dream?
Well, I think for myself, simply because I don't think when I got the E in physics that the thought was that I would be a professor. And I think for me personally, that would be something great. Simply because I also said to myself when Josh died that I need to do something for him, and that I need to also keep on dreaming. So I think for me it will equate to, this is for you that I dedicate this to, and this is something that I would like to achieve. But I think the bigger dream is, I'm hoping that my foundation would be able to transcend nationally, and that we would be able to have a footprint in many communities where young people and their families will find hope and faith and love, and that we can change what we are doing. And that whether it's a simple dream, that we can have a conversation about how as a country and its people we can uplift each other and not break each other down. So that's what I'm hoping for.
And lastly, how can people get involved in your foundation? I mean,
yes, there's so many things.
So I mean, if someone says, Doctor, I want to get involved, how do I get involved?
They can contact me, number one. Secondly, I mean, we have simple things that people can do. We work with kids on a Saturday. They might not have eaten. We get together at 2 o'clock. So simply just someone bringing and saying, here's sandwiches, here's some cool drink. Why do you work with them?
So on average, how many kids are there on a Saturday
so we now, in the matric group, we have 30.
Okay, so 30 sandwiches and 30 cool drinks?
Yeah, so simple things like that. Charles High School.
Right,
Simple thing like that where people we can do that.
Easy.
People that will say, look, when you have a function or whatever and you need transport, I'm available. We basically, and I drive kids back to Klapmuts. I drive them to wherever they need to. If we find a way, we Uber them back because their safety is important. So simple things like that. And then obviously people with expertise that can come and say, look, I'm an educator that's retired, but I would still like to be involved. How can I be involved? And we can show them some of the programs. I have this stubbornness in me, and I say to people, I don't need your money. I need your time. Because your time you can't buy back. So when you give me your time, I know you are really vested in this.
I agree 100% with you. It's easy to do an EFT and
people want to give money. We don't need that.
I agree with you 100%.
Yes, we don't have, but we don't need that because that's not going to make the difference.
Your time, you serious.
Your time is what makes the difference. The fact that some kid will see the village guy came to say hello to me, to talk about how he got here. That's they don't believe that, and I always joke about this as well. I say, I ask kids, so they say Brian Ambana is the hero. So I say, when did he come to visit you at your home? So they go, no, never. So I say, okay, so what about your father that gets up at 4:30 in the morning so you can have something to eat?
That's true.
So that's the thing. I want us to talk about heroes and say that hero should be at your house to say, what difference can I make? So then we are talking about heroes, and I'm not dissing all the guys that's talented, but I actually want the Brian Abanas to come into Charleston Hill High School and say, the whole ex-Springbok team that's now retired will come and build a new classroom for you. Then we are talking about the difference. So that's the challenge. So I want people to come and give their time. I want people to come, and even if you want to come and sit and listen, right, to see, okay, what are you doing? Come, phone me, come and see and find out, and maybe you'll sit there and you think, I want to be a part of this. So that's what we try and do. And the last thing from me, my committee members will tell you, I always say to them, it's not about you.
Mm.
It's not about you.
Yeah.
So the first thing I ask you, if you think something should change, is it because you feel unhappy?
Mm.
And then they say yes. I say, well, then we can't change it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the facts. Because it's not about us and how we feel. It's about
Yeah.
understanding from the perspective of that young child,
Yeah.
right? Where they are,
Yeah.
what they need, and how we build with them.
Yeah.
So I think I'm sitting here and I'm very proud of the foundation and what we do.
Mm.
I think for me the pride is the fact that young people have shown us how they need this and what they're willing to do
Yeah.
to get somewhere.
Yeah, and it also, I think it's also evident that, like I said, they just need that hope. It must just be there all the time, and I'm sure that's the difference.
Yeah.
Dr. Farrow,
Thank you for having me.
thanks so much for your time, and thank
Yeah.
you so much for the positive impact you're doing in Paul.
Thank you.
That's my thing. I just love people that
Yeah.
take time out of their busy schedules to just make a difference. And like you said, it's easy to do the EFT and pay, but I think your time with your family is much appreciated. And good luck with your foundation.
Thank you very much.
Guys, you heard how to get involved. I'll just post something also
Yeah.
when I put up the interview. And all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you.